If you want to start wholesaling houses and you're wondering how you're going to do that when you have a full-time W-2 job, where are you going to find the time? What's the best strategy to implement when you are working full-time so that you have the opportunity to try to do deals while still keeping your job? So this video here is going to cover just that. In fact, what I'm going to be doing is going over why nationwide wholesaling, I believe, is the best way. When you combine nationwide wholesaling and online lead generation, is the ideal path for you to start wholesaling, even if you have a W2 job. And so now there's a couple of reasons why that is. First of all, the important thing with ads is that unlike other conventional strategies such as cold calling and some of these other type of manual labor that requires your time, ads work while you're not working. You know, the ads are running 24/7 regardless of whatever platform you choose, and that could either be on Facebook, TikTok, or Google. They're working while you're working. So while you have a W-2 job, you don't need to be worrying about making cold calls. The ads are running in the background and looking for prospects. In addition to that, everything is running in the background and it's automated. So that means that the amount of time that you have to spend managing this is very, very minimal. And that's important because you don't have that much time. Whatever time you have, you need to preserve and make sure that you're spending your time in the most important thing, which is talking to buyers and talking with sellers. And again, um, we want to make sure that whatever strategy you choose is going to be one that's going to be extremely time efficient because you are lacking in time. Now, in addition to that, because you have a full-time job, because you have a W-2, that is a positive. You can look at that as a negative, but look at it as a positive in the sense that you could use your income that you have right now in order to be able to buy you time, all right, and leads. And so when you invest in ads, right, since you already have the money from the W-2, you can invest in ads instead of you having to hire cold callers or virtual assistants to do outreach, which you have to still manage them and make sure that they're doing their job. So that's another layer of complexity that you can completely eliminate. And then also, when it comes to ads, their ads are generally a more scalable and way of producing a consistent result over time. Unlike other things that are require manual labor, which again you have humans, so you have to keep making sure that those humans are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and most of the time they don't. And so that is completely eliminated. And again, when you're running ads, immediately as soon as somebody submits a form, that gets pushed out to you. So it's very frictionless process. And that's really why it's important for you that if you do have a W-2 job, that you then implement this particular strategy. The great thing is also when you're doing this model, which is the nationwide wholesaling model with online marketing, is that it is a fully virtual model, right? So then you don't ever need to worry about physically inspecting a property, personally meeting with a buyer or a seller. You can use tools that such as Zillow, such as Google Street View, to analyze the deals right from your laptop, right from your mobile device. So you don't need to be fixed in any one particular location. You can do it while you're at work, so it's very easy to do. And many times, like even for the interior of the photos, the sellers can send you the photos of the property. You can get a service that goes out, takes photos of the properties for you. So the great thing is because it's virtual, then everything can be done on your schedule from your laptop or your phone, no matter where you're at. So it's very, very important. You may not know this, but I used to be an accountant, had a full-time job, and I hated it. I then transitioned to doing wholesaling and doing real estate full-time. If you want to be able to do that, or at least have the option of that being a possibility, then you should reach out to you. Link in the description. We have a system where we can set up the ads for you. We can help and analyze the deals for you. And we can also help in finding the buyers. So that way you can maximize your time, but most importantly, you can get your first set of deals done while you have a full-time job. So make sure you click on the link in the description. The other part that makes this model really work well for you if you have a full-time job is that the process of this is it's a much easier process, right? So the ads are running in the background. The property owners are submitting their information We're asking them tons of questions, such as what their timeline is to sell, the condition of the property, who's living at the property, their asking price, and a bunch of other information. They submit that information. Now you get an email with that information from the seller. And if you have more, if you're working a full-time job, then you have the benefit of, as those leads come in, you could then look at that information and very quickly determine if that is a high priority lead or not a high priority lead. Because not every lead is going to be great. It's just the nature of things. It's a numbers game. But as the leads come in, then you can make a determination and say, you know what, that lead's not that, it's okay. They're asking a little bit too much close to retail. I'll give them a call after work, or I'll give them a call on my next day off tomorrow. However, if you get a lead and you look at the information, you look on Zillow and you see that, wow, that's really a great deal, then you can reprioritize that. And you can say, well, maybe during lunch, I will call that. Or as soon as I get off of work, I will call them from the car. And again, the other important part about this is that um, you don't need to talk to every single lead. You just need to talk to the ones that are highest probability and of being a deal. And then the great thing is that because you're in a sifting and sorting model instead of a convincing model, that you don't need to learn how to sell very hard. And if somebody isn't uh, that great to deal with, and or they're asking way too much money, then you can always say the most magical word in the dictionary, the 4-letter word. It's not the F word, it's the next. Next. You just say next, and then you wait for the next lead. Because the great thing about this is that leads are coming to you each and every single day. And the great thing is, from a scalability perspective, it's also much better than the other conventional methods. And that's because, with online lead generation, number one is you control how much of a lead flow you're getting. You're not going to, typically, what I recommend to clients is that they're going to start off with a budget of $20 a day, just to kind of get into the rhythm of things for the first couple of weeks. Make sure that, in the beginning, everything's going to be a little bit slower, and just make sure that you're handling the leads properly. You're not falling behind. And then if you have more time and you get, you're moving quicker, you can increase the budget, which is just simply logging into the system, putting in the, changing the number, and then now you've increased your budget. So you can start off with, I have here $25 a day, but you can start off with $20 a day, and then you can scale up as you get more comfortable. And then, what happens is also, this makes the real estate business infinitely more predictable and scalable. And that's because, if you're doing other strategies like driving for dollars, as an example, it's a bit of hit and miss. You might go and drive around all day and not find anything. Or you might drive and, one day, you drive for 2 hours, you find like a handful of properties. The next day you drive and, you don't really find anything. Same thing with cold calling. You could spend 2 hours on the phone and get nothing. You could spend 2 hours on the phone and get a couple leads the next day. So it's very unpredictable, versus here, it's very much, it's very much a system where, that if you are going to spend $20 a day over the next 30 days, yes, there's daily fluctuations in the number of leads you get on a daily basis. However, over the 30 days, you're going to be about, say in this example, if you're doing nationwide, $20 a day, you're going to be about 30 leads plus or minus. But that's a very it's a very fixed number, and this is what we encounter based on the way we build out the campaigns. And so the great thing is that it works at your pace, it works at your speed. Especially if you got a full-time job, you don't want the pressure of, oh my God, I got all these leads and I'm so stressed out. You can just go at whatever pace you're comfortable with, in order to make sure that you make progress and you don't fall behind with a bunch of leads, and then you call people back 2 weeks later and they've already sold. You don't want that to happen. Now, in addition to that, the type of lead that we're getting is much different. The conversation is different, and the way you approach them. A lot of times, if you're doing cold calling, a lot of these leads, they're very combative. They're upset, first of all, that you call them. They want to know who you are, why you reach out to me, how did you get my number. Once you get past all that, then now you can get into the conversation about the property. But they never really reached out to you. So when it comes to pricing, they're always going to say, why don't you make me an offer? You reached out to me. And then they really weren't in that mode of trying to figure out how to sell their property. So now they're going to say, well, let me think about it, because I really wasn't thinking about selling, but since you called me, now I have to think about it. Versus a lead that supplies their information inbound. Number one is the conversation right from the get-go is so much easier because they're already like they're already expecting your call. It's like, hey, this is Chris with National. If you were the seller, hey Joe, this is Chris with National Property Buyer. You filled out a form online requesting an offer on your property. So just calling you back to get more information and see if your property qualifies for us to, as a property that we would like to buy. You got a few minutes, and then that's it. Easy. In addition to that, it's just a warmer conversation, a much easier conversation. And because we can generate a lot of leads, then the pressure of trying to convince somebody is also minimized. So overall, it's just a much easier experience. And especially if you got a full-time job, it has to be as easy as possible for you. And the great thing is that when you're doing online marketing, like the whole process, the whole nature of this model with online marketing is that it fits seamlessly into your schedule, right? The follow-ups can be flexible. You follow up with leads in the evenings. You could text message the leads as they come in and just have that initial conversation with them through text messaging. Um, the and there's so many different ways of navigating the leads, uh, and allows you to use your time more efficiently. So I call it, being able to be productive in the slivers of time that you have available. And so for you, if you have a full-time job, you got to get good at that. You got to get good at, hey, I got an hour here, I got a couple hours here, etc. But because of the fact that these leads are coming in, that you can structure your day. You can say, well, gee, I got an hour at lunch today, and I had these leads come in. Out of all these leads, there's 4 of them, but there's one really that I think is a really good opportunity. So I'm going to just focus on that one. The other ones I'm going to text. I'm going to try to go back and forth with them a little bit, and then that when I get another sliver of time, I'm going to go ahead and reach out to them. And so to me, that's the best way to approach it. So the bottom line is that with online lead generation and with nationwide wholesaling, the ads generate leads while you work. You use your income to buy leads, not to, so you're trading your time for your income. So in other words, instead of slaving away for 3 hours cold calling, you're taking a little bit of your money that you're making on a per month basis, investing it in ads to then get leads. So then that way you can have a chance of doing this. And again, I think that this particular strategy in general will allow you to transition to going from a full-time job to incorporating wholesaling into what you're doing. So that way you can get some deals done and then be in a position where eventually you could make a decision of whether or not you want to be able to jump off and quit your full-time job. But I think this is the best way to do it. And if you're interested in learning more about how we generate these leads in our model, go ahead and click on one of these videos that'll pop up here or there. And then that way you can find out more.